Hello everyone, welcome to Taylor's Tech Talks, and today we're going to be talking WordPress. My name is Taylor Arndt, and I am a freelance WordPress developer, accessibility consultant, and trainer. I've been in the industry for 3 years now, and I have helped clients from nonprofits to government agencies with accessibility compliance and making websites. We are doing a series called WordPress Wednesdays, and we are going to be building a complete site from start to finish using WordPress. This site will be the home of our Clubhouse club, WP for All, where we have rooms talking about WordPress, answering questions on a weekly basis. To best follow along with this series, I would recommend you do the following things. If you are blind and you're using a screen reader, WordPress tends to work better using NVDA, non-visual desktop access. If you're not familiar with this software, I will link it in the description. But this is a lot better than using JAWS because the block editor, which is what allows you to edit WordPress content, works a lot better with NVDA, and it's just a smoother experience. This is a free screen reader, so there's no additional cost to you. But there may be a little bit of a learning curve, but trust me, it's worth it. Also, I am using Google Chrome for this series. I'm so glad that you decided to join me for an awesome series, WordPress Wednesdays. What is WordPress Wednesdays, you may ask? A great question. WordPress Wednesdays is a series that the Taylor's Tech Talks YouTube channel is going to be embarking on for the next few months. We will be building a complete site from scratch using WordPress and documenting the whole journey. What is WordPress? WordPress is a content management system, or CMS. It is commonly used for blogs, business websites, usually for small and medium-sized businesses, universities, even government entities use it. And the gist is that it allows you to create websites with little to no code required and at a rapid pace. It is a very accessible platform for those who are blind, and there are two main versions, WordPress.com and WordPress.org. WordPress.com is used mostly for blogs, and it is a good option if you are very new to the field and you don't want to deal with hosting, which I will get into in a second. However, it is a little bit more expensive and you do not own your content. In other words, if WordPress, because since it's owned by the company, WordPress, doesn't like something, they could easily take it down because they don't like it. However, a good thing is that you can actually get started with WordPress.com for free. However, I would not recommend this for more professional things, but if you want a personal blog and you want to get in the realm of blogging, you could always start there. But your domain, in other words, your address on the web, will end in .wordpress.com, which will not be very helpful. WordPress.org, on the other hand, is a self-hosted option, meaning that you would get a hosting plan from a great provider that will basically allow you to rent space on their server, and in turn you can install WordPress using the built-in tools that the host may provide, or manually if you have to. Don't worry if this all sounds like gibberish, we will be getting into this more later in a future video. But you have complete control of your content. The only cost to you would be the domain and the hosting. So WordPress.org does not charge like WordPress.com, but that's because you manage the server, not them. In this series, we'll be using WordPress.org because I already have hosting, and that way I can own my content because that is what I would prefer. And also WordPress.org gives you more options. For example, more themes, which is the visual appearance of your site, and more plugin options, which is the availability to extend the built-in functionality or to add existing functionality to your site. So I know that sounded like a lot, but we will be exploring all of these concepts. But in a sense, that is what WordPress is. And so in this series, we will be building a complete site. What is our objective? Our objective is we are going to be building a site for our Clubhouse club, WP for All. What is Clubhouse? Clubhouse is an audio social networking app that just came out just over a year ago, but a lot of blind people started using it a couple months ago. And it is a app where you can connect with other people in what are called rooms. And then you can join these rooms from what is called the hallway. So you can almost think of it like a big convention center, but virtual. And so you can also have clubs where basically you can join and rooms will be created in that club and be hosted by them about specific topics. So for example, WP for All, we have club rooms that are focused on WordPress and vice versa. Clubhouse is a great platform. However, there's a couple caveats. One, it is not available on Android as of this recording. However, they are actively working on that, and that status may change. So for the latest information about this, you can go to their official website, joinclubhouse.com, I believe it is. Two is that it's invite only, so you will need to get an invite in order to participate. But a lot of people have it now, so hopefully you'll be able to get invited. But in a sense, that's what Clubhouse is. We're going to be building a Clubhouse Club website for WP for All. And this will allow us to share resources back and forth. It will allow us to see the upcoming schedule of rooms that we're going to plan, because what will happen is I schedule rooms weekly to talk with the WordPress WP for All club, and anybody on Clubhouse is eligible to join. But basically, it will kind of be a place, everything related to the club. We'll have some resources, we'll have, a contact form, and obviously a calendar. Our objective, in a sense, is to build a website for our home, for our Clubhouse club. And I thought it'd be a cool idea to actually document this as I'm going through it. And so I really can't wait to actually get started. But yeah, that is in a sense what we're going to be doing. Why do I want to make this website? Well, I want to do it because I want to have a place where all of the members can see the resources that we may have talked about, and that they can see the events that we're planning. And I just want it to kind of be a home for everything that's going on with the WP for All club. A lot of other clubs have websites, and so I want to kind of join, well, in a sense, metaphorically, the club. And so I thought, no better time than now, and no better place than to film it on the Taylor's Tech Talks YouTube channel. So, real quick, the rooms that we do are usually a Q&A style, and we'll have a little bit of a presentation beforehand, and then you can ask WordPress questions, or if you had questions about the video from that week. I'm going to try to make the rooms have a theme like we did last week. We had a WordPress Wednesdays kickoff, and so I'm going to try to make a theme in the room based on what the video topic was. So it would be helpful. Usually I'm going to try to have them on Saturday or Sunday, but you can always listen to the WordPress video from the WordPress Wednesdays, and then you can kind of know what we're going to be talking about in the room. So I'm going to try to make it almost like a Q&A review session for the WP for All club members and non-alike. So that is kind of how we're going to run that. And yeah, let's talk about the things you may need, because you may be thinking, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Let's do this. I really want to be a part of this. Well, let's take a step back for a second. Let's talk about the things you will need. So the first thing I would recommend you have is, if you are blind, I would recommend that you're very proficient with your screen reader, which is a tool that will allow you to read the content of the screen aloud, for blind users. You don't have to be, but it definitely makes it a lot easier. So like JAWS, NVDA, VoiceOver, and so on and so forth. So I would make sure that you have some kind of familiarity, because the WordPress interface is non-standard, and having that familiarity with your screen reader will make things a lot easier. The second thing I would recommend you have is, I would recommend that you have your own domain, which is, again, your address on the internet, and your own hosting. And don't worry, we're going to be talking about these throughout this series. And because what you can do is kind of do what I'm doing on your side, but, learn how to do it and then kind of build your site as the series is continuing. It's always a good idea to try to have a domain that you can kind of follow along with, and then you can kind of do what I'm doing, and then so we'll be talking about that more. Another thing that I would recommend is that you can okay, so we talked about what we needed. Now let's talk roadmap. So before I start any site, I always like to have an idea of what I'm going to be talking about and what the website's going to convey. So I already have the idea that this website will be a home for the WP for All Clubhouse Club. And so what I usually like to do is I like to bust out a Word doc or some other form, and I like to start writing things down as of what kind of pages I want to have and what I kind of want the site to look like in a sense of like content and all that fun stuff, because I want to have this stuff before I actually start going. That way I don't have to redo this a million times. So I'm in a Word document right now, and we're just going to start doing some planning. And the first thing I always do is I always title the document. So I'm going to say WP for All.
Heading 1, double P, space,
Club,
space,
website,
space,
planning,
G, T.
Planning document. All right, so WP for All website planning document. All right, the next thing I like to do is I like to try to write it out by page. So, for example, home, about, whatever. And I kind of want to write down like what kind of pages I want on the site, so that way I know what I'm looking for here. Because the first thing I always like to do, and I'm going to reiterate this once we get there, I always will make a menu first, and that way I have the initial structure, and then I can kind of fill things in. That's something I found very useful. So I'm going to make a heading called Pages.
Heading P-A-G-E-S.
I'm going to make a list.
Space.
And I'm going to say Pages, so home, obviously.
A-E. Bullet.
And about.
A-B-O-T. Space. Bullet.
Events.
V-E-T. Bullet.
Resources.
R-E-R-C-E. Bullet. C-O-S-T. Bullet.
So let's explain what we did. So I just wrote kind of the map of how I want the menu to look, so on the top. And so I have these pages that I kind of want to be displayed at the top. And this is also a really awesome place to start writing the content, but we will get there later. But this is kind of, like I said, just our planning document, and that way it's kind of like our outline when you're researching. But these are things that I'm going to be doing. Now, let's say you're making a personal site. Some options that could be useful are home, about, portfolio, like sample work. And then you could have like contact, or it all depends on kind of what you're doing. And so for this purpose, this will work, but obviously this is not a standard template. This is just kind of how I'm planning out this website. And so I planned out the menu. I kind of know that I want this menu to be the navigation menu at the top. So whenever I'm making these things, I will reference this document pretty frequently. And that way I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing. So I'm going to go to the next line here. And whenever I'm working with a client, guys, I always do this planning thing. And that way they and I both know what we're going to have on the pages. And it just makes it a lot easier, because if I don't know, then it's really hard, and then I'll have to redo things. So this is something that I always do, and I recommend it because it'll make it a lot easier to understand what you're doing and have less errors. All right, so I planned out the pages. Now let's talk about what I kind of want on each page, just so I kind of have a list. So I'm going to make another heading, and I'm going to make an H3. Again, I'm making these headings so that it's accessible, because I want to make accessible documents. I highly recommend you guys do too. But that's a whole nother topic.
Heading 3 style.
Home.
A-E. Space.
So on the home page, I want to have like a paragraph of, what the thing is and vice versa. So what I'm going to do for now, guys, is I'm going to actually write just kind of what I want, because I don't have any content yet, right? So I'm just going to kind of write what I want, but obviously once we have what we want, we can just kind of replace those bullets with the actual paragraph. if that kind of makes sense. So I want a paragraph explaining
space double
WP
P P P P P space F A F F B bullet.
And I also want maybe a place where we can talk about the summaries from the last meeting, so like latest news.
L A E S E W S bullet.
So it'll be kind of a blurb, and then it'll have some latest news. So again, once we have all that planned out, we will kind of get rid of these bullets here. And then the about page is pretty simple. It's just about the club, kind of how it was founded, why it was founded. So it's just kind of the about section. So
Heading A
about,
B T A F space
about
space
club,
space E R
about club and founder. So that's just kind of like I said, the about section, just about, who it is, why we started it, all that fun stuff. And then from there, we are saying
bullet about bullet events blank bullet
events
blank
will contain
heading E V E space
event
E V E space
calendar
A L L E N D A R P N E F bullet event calendar for upcoming events bullet blank.
Okay, so upcoming event calendar, and I'll probably want to have a subscribe so that you can subscribe to the calendar.
S B F C L D A bullet.
All right, and then I want to have resources. So this will be resources that are talked about in each of the meetups that we have, the WP for all. So I'll just say resources.
Heading E
Collection.
Space 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 E G space E S bullet.
Like I said, this is just kind of a mind map of kind of what we're going to say, and then it's just that. Okay, finally contact.
Heading 3 C O X T.
We're just going to have a contact form. That's pretty simple. So contact form is going to be what we're going to have there.
C O X M.
Oops.
Bullet contact spelling error ORM. Out of spell O C spelling error out of F contact OR carriage M contact form C space bullet contact form.
Okay. So the other thing I want to do is I want to talk about the footer. So the footer is what's on the bottom of the site. And so what I'm thinking there is that we'll have related resources. So I'm going to actually make another heading for footer.
Bullet contact line heading 3 F T
footer
space
so links
T bullet
club
K bullet.
So the club link where they can actually join it from Clubhouse. And then we'll say the other information. So Taylor's Tech Talks for sure will be in there.
Bullet.
And since I'm the sole owner of this club, I will probably also put my social media. So Taylor's social. And again, the footer is kind of where you want the information. Like I said, your social media, your things that you want the users to see, and that should be accessible in all pages. So that's kind of what the header and footer both do. So those are kind of some of the things that we want on the footer. We did the header and we did the pages. In terms of visual appearance, I don't plan this step here. That comes on later. So I don't plan the visual appearance yet because we want to kind of know the contact and the assets. The content and the assets. So I don't plan the visual appearance here, but you could if you wanted. But I don't see that really needed at this stage of the game. This stage is just kind of providing a mental map and having it written down. It's always good to write things down. This document will be available for you guys to download at taylorstechtalks.com for the accompanying post that accompanies this podcast or YouTube video. And you can kind of see how I plan things out, and you can kind of adapt this to what you're building at this minute. But this is just kind of how I plan and the videos and tutorials. You can visit the Taylor's Tech Talks website for the home of all of the Taylor's Tech Talks podcasts, YouTube, and blog posts with interactive transcripts for each video and podcast. In addition, if you would like to support this channel, I have a couple ways of doing so. You can support me using affiliate links in the description. Disclaimer, I do get a kickback, but the money goes directly to support the channel and podcast. In addition, you may become a member at TaylorsTechTalks.com for just $1 a month, and that will get you access to the community Discord server. $3 a month will get you access to honorable mention and the Discord, and $5 a month will get you early access to all videos. Speaking of sponsors and members, I want to thank our sponsors who are our great members at TaylorsTechTalks.com. And if you would like to become one of those, you may sign up and join the community. I hope you like this tutorial, and be sure to check back every week for new videos as they become added, and check Taylor's Tech Talks frequently. And if you would like to hear this in a podcast form, you may visit Taylor's Tech Talks on Apple, Spotify, Google, and wherever you like to get your podcasts. I hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to you soon.